never did take stock that the devil is not mocked, and all those broken fences will not mend.
Another politician has just taken center stage. He tells all the people that he loves them so. He comes on like a sage, says with him they should engage. A false prophet selling endless empty prose.
You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
You're listening to my friend Gary Anderson on Night Dreams Talk Radio, the best in paranormal radio.
Well, thank you, John. I'm not the best. I'm not the worst, but we are on the radio. We're talking with William Pullin and with James out there in the background eating his sugar-frosted flakes. I know it. Anyway, William, do you have any... I know I'm hungry right now. You got any stories of any reports you can give the listeners?
Well, an individual came to me about this time last year, stating that her son had seen an anomalous object in the sky over their house. Made no noise. It had no physical effects on the environment. In other words, it seemed to be at an altitude of about 100 feet. So you would think if it was a helicopter, it would, one, be making noise. Two, it would be blowing around the tree limbs around its vicinity. That didn't transpire. This was a dark shape which had lights at triangular points on the craft or whatever it was, made no noise, no sound, and had no impact on the environment. And it took off in a southwest direction. And that was all the testimony the individual had. He didn't have a cell phone with him, so he had no photographic evidence. And the event took place at night. But a week later, I was making a search of the media here in San Antonio to see if any other reports had come to light that the media was actually covering, and that was in vain. But later that same day, it was about 2 weeks later, came across another individual who reached out to me, who found my blog page on Facebook, and sent me a message saying he'd like to tell me about his sighting. So we met up, and he filled out a sighting report, and I got all his testimony from him. And I found that he was northeast of the location of the first sighting. It happened the same night, except about 30 minutes before. So what this individual cited, the characteristics of it were identical to what the first individual stated. Triangular-shaped, dark, no sound, no environmental changes, took off to the southwest. So it leads you to believe that these two individuals may have seen the same object. It was going along the same flight path. I was able to correlate the two sightings on a map and showed that these individuals were describing most likely the same thing. But that was the end of it. Neither one had any photographic evidence or video. So above beyond the testimony matching up perfectly, that's as far as I could take it. These individuals did not know of each other at all. They lived about 15 miles away from each other. So that was the last case that was the last multiple witness case I've come across here in San Antonio. And that's been since, I guess, last December. But they pop up every so often. So, and again, that's depending if they come forward or not. Are other multiple witness cases happening? I would think so. But they're not comfortable coming forward, so we don't know about it. And that's from a research standpoint, that's very troubling, because the potential is out there that strong multiple witness cases may be out there for us to investigate, but they slip through the cracks because no one talks about them, and that's very troubling.
Well, I think a lot of people are still scared. It's not like it was back in the 80s and 90s and stuff, but a lot of people were scared to say, oh, I saw a UFO. If you did out, where you worked at or around a group of people, they would start looking at you as rather strange. Now, I've mentioned this little story a couple of times ago. I'm sure you remember Republic Airlines years ago. They were a major airline. One of my friends I got to know was a vice president of Republic Airlines. Now, he served in Vietnam. He was a colonel. He used to fly from Guam over to Vietnam and drop the eggs, the bombs. And he said after a run, he was going back, and he noticed off his cockpit window, there was a UFO off of his wing, and it was following him. He said the worst mistake he ever made was getting on the radio and reporting it. Now, his whole crew got to see it, because when he said it, he announced it to the crew. Everybody on that plane saw the UFO, and it followed him for a while, and then poof, it was gone, according to my friend. Now, when he landed, he was instructed, nobody leave the plane. A whole bunch of Jeeps came by. Military police came, and some people in suits came. That's what he said. They were all taken aboard on these vehicles, taken into a building, and everybody was separated. He had to sign an agreement that he never saw a UFO. He never reported it. And he told me that if he would have, if he ever discussed it, he would be in a lot of trouble. All of them would be. Now, he told this to me back in the 80s, before Republic went under. And he said he got out of the military because he was told he was not going to advance any higher in rank. Mm. What he told me, that when pilots would come up to him and say that they saw a UFO, he would say, you did not see a UFO. If you tell anybody that you saw a UFO, two things are going to happen. You're going to lose your license. You're not going to be able to fly no more. Two is you lose your job immediately. And it scared a lot of pilots, because he told me that a lot of pilots would come up and report they saw UFOs, either off a distance or close by, just tagging along, next to a plane.
Yeah, it's that whole scenario described. I've heard a million times. Yeah, there clearly was, above and beyond the ridicule that the public goes through when it comes to this enigma. Civilian and military aircraft pilots have always been. There's always been at least a pretty much in-your-face suggestion that you don't talk about UFOs. If you see one, you don't report it. Or if you do report it, you report it in proper channels. You don't talk about it in public. And if you do, either you lose your job or your ability to advance is stunted. It affects your career. It affects your ability to have a career, for lack of a better term. So I agree. There's always been that out there. So when you mentioned the Navy videos, the Navy admitted that now they're wanting their pilots to come forward and describe their interactions with unidentified, what they call UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon, which is a different acronym from UFO, obviously. So they're encouraging that. Now, is that a recent development, or has that been going on for a while? We don't know. Because clearly the military has been investigating UFOs for decades. But have they turned the corner and made it more comfortable for their pilots to report what they're seeing? Perhaps, which it would be a good thing, because these individuals are flying. These are trained observers seeing these things in the sky. So if they're given the opportunity to discuss what they've seen, I think that's only a good thing. But you hit the nail on the head. In the past, that was not the case. Whether you were a civilian pilot or a military pilot, you just did not discuss UFOs. You just didn't do it unless you wanted to pay the piper and lose your job.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, recently Bruce Maccabee was on my show. Now, James, you might remember what he said. He analyzed, the videos of the Nimitz and the other one from 2017. And he said, whoever was piloting these crafts, there's no way they could have been humans, because they would have been turned into, if I remember right, James, liquid or something like that?
Yeah, mush or liquid, because the G's is so great that mankind, there's no way we would withstand it. So unless these vehicles have some kind of something that deals with that on the inside, we would just be mush totally, because the G's are way, way too great for us to comprehend.
Yeah, he said from analyzing the videos that some of these turns they did, that in the video would have been around 500 G's.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Maccabee's assessment. Yeah, the G forces are far in excess of what the human body could take. He's exactly right. I agree. So if this is a piloted craft, it would have to have some technology that could overcome that scenario, so that the pilot, whether the pilot was human or non-terrestrial, would be able to survive those kind of forces. Unless, and the other option is that this may have been an unmanned construct, whether of earthly origin or not. And that if it was unmanned, then that would just eliminate the issue with the G forces. But assuming these are manned craft, yeah, Maccabee was exactly right.
But here's the other thing: even if it wasn't manned, any technology of any metals that we know of, now maybe there's metals we don't know of, it would have not withstand the G force of 500 Gs. It would have imploded. So whatever the technology is being used for these to be able to, make these sharp, high-speed turns and all this stuff, is technology, unless the government's hiding it from us, is far superior than anything we know of. That's the things, you put all this together and all you can go is, wow. That's about all I can say all these years is, wow.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're exactly right about the technology. The flight characteristics on display dictates either this is terrestrial technology that's kept away from public scrutiny. We don't know about it. That's quite an advance from what we have now. If it's earthly technology, if it's developed by us, it's far in advance of what we have as far as what's known to the public, or it's non-terrestrial. It was made somewhere else. So either scenario is fascinating, but I agree. Again, I agree with your assessment, like I did with Dr. Maccabee. It's the technology demands a interesting explanation because of what's on display in the video. The G forces at play are preposterously high. It's crazy. It's insane.
Oh, it is. And again, if we have technology that far advanced, then I don't think we should ever have to worry about being in war with China or Russia or anything, because I think then we would have something that they don't. They talk about hypersonic, missiles and stuff. What's going on here is way advanced over that capability. It just makes me wonder what is going on. Is something in Washington, D.C., all this political turmoil that's been going on, like the wall, what's going on right now, is it to keep our minds off of maybe something that some people claim that they think maybe because all this stuff is to keep our eyes off of and keep us focused off maybe something that's coming bad down the turnpike?
I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, people are easily misled. They easily consume misinformation or disinformation. They eat the news up without doing their homework. Could we be led around by our noses by a certain narrative to keep our minds off of something else? That's a possibility. I don't know if that's true or not, but at least it's a possibility. So you're right. What's on display in the videos is awe-inspiring and needs to be explained. Will we ever explain it? Possibly not. But either scenario is fascinating. If it's not terrestrial, that's a huge deal. That's technology that is above and beyond ours. We can't explain, that we know is not ours. Therefore, by definition, it's extraterrestrial. If it isn't, and we're able to somehow I guess, prove or definitively be able to rationalize that it's terrestrial. It's our technology that has been kept